Alrighty, welcome back to another episode of ADHD and Crochet. We're going to continue on with our little Nautilus buddy here. This may end up being a little bit shorter of a video because he is the only thing I have to sew together right now. And that is fine. But we still have a few steps left to do on him, and I'll have to pin some things in place, which always takes a little bit of time anyways, so who knows? May not be that short. So last time we sewed the spiral of the shell together and we started sewing the body in place. We're going to finish sewing that in place and needle shaping the area. All the little tentacles want to be involved here. Looks like keep grabbing onto that string, or the string keeps grabbing onto them, so we'll at least spend a few minutes working our way around that, if nothing else. So by the time this video comes out, it'll probably be the middle of July. And I will probably be getting more prepared for moving out of this state. I'm very excited for it. Right now we still are just in the very early stages of getting prepared. We are looking for the place that we're going to move to, and then working on getting all our ducks in a row. Hopefully by this point I'll have sold some of my things. I will probably keep several of the ones that I am prepared to make again, enjoyed making, up and available for people to purchase as they please, and I'll just have to make those to order if anybody orders them. And that's fine. Maybe they will make an appearance on a video as a made-to-order ADHD and Crochet. But at the moment, just a hobby that I'm trying to prevent from taking over my house, which is why I sell them. And I sell them for pretty cheap because I'm kind of just trying to get rid of them. Because believe it or not, stuffed animals take up a lot of space if you don't vacuum seal them in a baggie, which is probably how I'm going to move a lot of my stuff. A lot of my yarn is going to be vacuum sealed for space reasons. Stuffed animals and clothing all vacuum sealed. Those big vacuum seal cubes. Put everything in. Alright, we've sewn him closed. Now we can make our little knot. And hide our string. Gonna do another pass to hide it a little better. One of the interesting things about this pattern is that it has multiple sets of instructions. It has instructions for doing multicolored pattern like this. It has instructions for just using a variegated yarn. It also has like 3 different instructions for the tentacle types. You can decide what you want to do, how realistic you want it to make it. So I find that interesting and fascinating. It also has 2 different instructions for the eyes. So you can use safety eyes like I did use here, or you can use just crocheting them together. So, another interesting thing is that you use a lot of partial rows, so really each little lip here is one row, and then everything in between is partial. So I find that interesting. All right, which side is the top of this? This has a lot of strings to it, and we are probably going to use all of them for this. Let's go ahead and get him pinned where he needs to be. This kind of goes back like that. We'll pin that into place like so. This one kind of matches that. And I will probably sew this all the way across here. I think I'm going to add a pin up here so we get that little bit of depth here in these little sections. And then I'm also going to add just a little bit of stuffing under there, just so it holds its shape a little bit. Just that small amount of stuffing there, and we've got that part in place. Now this is kind of interesting because it pulls back under there, so it overlaps like that, and then this kind of curls a little bit right under there. So this one's just going to get poked through like that, and we're going to add just a little bit more stuffing under here from this side. This kind of holds that unique shape a little bit better. Now what I will probably do is sew across here lightly so that this doesn't lift up, but so that we keep that unique little shaping. Now we need to do the same over here, and I've run out of pins. That's fine. We have an entire box of them still. So again, this kind of folds under here a little bit, and then this little section curls a little bit under there. We get a unique shape. This. And once again, we're gonna just kind of poke it through right there so everything kind of holds in place. Now that little part is gonna go away. This little string is actually gonna get hidden right under there. Just like that. So I will probably do a lot of stitching and shaping on this piece just to make sure everything sits the way it should, the way I want it to. Add a little stuffing in places. We're going to start over here with this string, wherever it starts, and start working our way across now. We're going to start with our first little stitch right here. And just start working our way across. And we're gonna work with the shape of the main shell. We don't want to change that at all. That is at a perfect stuffedness and shaping. We are just going to work at making sure everything else stays in place. Now we've gone across perfectly fine. We can remove that pin. Start working our way up center section there. And we are further ensuring that the coil does not come undone by stitching across this top part. So it is not going anywhere. Don't need that pin anymore because we are pretty sturdy. Sometimes these get into such weird angles. Kind of have to work with it and work against it all at the same time. Gotta push and pull things into weird positions, and sometimes you'll get a little stuffing out where it doesn't want to be, shouldn't be, and that's okay. We've made it across that little bridge there. Now we're going to work our way down to this string, in which we will hide this string and switch to the other one to work with that one. Just tug on it a little bit here and there to make sure that everything is looking the way I want it to. I may need to add some more stuffing before I get things fully stitched down, and that's okay. We've got plenty to do that with. But we are going to just meet that next string down here. Now we're going to make a little knot. Hide our little friend. Snip that off. Get a sippy. And move on to our next string. Now this one, what I'm probably going to do is just sew along this bit right here, just to make sure that everything sits where I want it to, just so I can also add in and adjust my little stuffing inside here. That needs a little help, I think. Stuff that a little more firmly. So what I'll do is I'll stitch along this line here, probably go across on this line here and save this string for going around this part. This will aid in a few things. It'll aid in the shaping, allowing me to put stuffing there a little more firmly. My string wants to cooperate with me, please. There we go. We'll start with where we left off on the previous string. Just reinsuring that that area does not have a little hole that's not supposed to be there. And we'll just slowly work our way across. Now this might actually be a little bit too twisted there, because that little hole is actually where the eyes are going to cover. So I'm going to sew that a little bit more like this. Kind of get more into there. And I'm kind of catching that little stray string there a little bit while I do this. Kind of hides it a little bit. Alright, we'll go ahead and move this down so it's not in the way, but it's still doing what I need it to, which is holding that little section in place. And we're just gonna stitch this little section together. I'm going to change how we're doing the stitches just a little bit. It's supposed to kind of have a little bit of a lip happening. And then the stitches I'm going to do across this little area here are more just weaving this across here. I'm going to do a small actual stitch here to tighten this up slightly. And then we will continue down this point to get to there. And this will allow me to do some stuffing and some extra shaping. This little guy is a little more complex than some of my other projects have been. And that's okay. They are complex little creatures. I want to keep some of that little lip look. This is a folded piece of shell. Let go of the tentacle. Thank you. And then this little pin is going to go down again like the other one did. And now I'm going to work in the little eye hole. Yeah. And make sure that it kind of retains some of its shape. We're going to meet down where we started in the first place, and that'll help add some security to that stitch. Take some pressure off of it. So now we can make our knot. Hide this string. And snip it off. Alright. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to push some of the stuffing back up in here a little bit more, just so that that has more shape to it. I'm going to add just a little bit more in here to make it an even shape. And we're going to kind of pull these tentacles a little bit forward here. I'm actually going to take a pin and pin this little flap down right here. Right along that little visible seam there, it looks like. That'll kind of give me a place to work that across. So we're going to take our extra long string here. And we're going to thread our needle. And we're going to start by shaping where I want this corner to be. This little spot is supposed to be a little more round looking. We're going to kind of work with that little shape a little bit. And we're going to untie our little knot there that happened. There we go. Now we can work with this a little bit. Get that sewn in place. And then we're gonna work in pretty much just the brown sections a little bit. And probably what I'm gonna do is leave that nice and loose. And just kind of open it up and sew on the inside here. And work my way down over here. This is going to have a little bit of a purposeful hole there, because that's the shape it's supposed to have. And then we're going to start working on this inner seam a little bit. And just keeping that general shape that we're looking for. This takes a little bit of patience. And just being careful in where you put your stitches. You still want the tentacles to kind of have their own shape and their own personality. We're just going to kind of work around them as much as we can. We're not trying to sew those down. I'm probably going to stitch this part closed so it is a little more uniform with the other side. But we'll do that with the extra. Now we've made it across that little bridge area there. And now we can start doing the same thing on the other side that we did, but in the opposite direction. Do a stitch or two that holds this in place here, and then we will work our way inward a little bit. We're still going to leave that little hole, a purposeful little hole. I actually need to tug this out just a little bit, hold it down with my finger. And just kind of work my way on the inside of this part. And that, we have it in place. I'm going to make a knot here, but I'm not going to fasten off necessarily. I'm not going to cut my string. I'm going to move the eyes over there a little bit. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my string over here. And start working on this, making this close a little bit. So it's not as wide of an opening. Now this was just part of the crochet process. Sometimes it's hard to get some areas, especially when you're working through an original chain, to lie flat, and that's okay. Nothing a little needle shaping can't fix. That just makes it a little tighter, a little less noticeable. And there we go. Now, what we can do from here is we can give this a little bit of shape and function. By very simply moving our string to the center line and then working up this line here. With some stitches that flatten it out a little bit. Just so it gives it that little bit of definition, that little bit of shape. It's a little bit difficult. It will take 2 passes, the first one going up and the second one going down, catching those missed spots. Sometimes it doesn't want to cooperate, so what you can do is pull it through the side a little bit. Just make sure that you are going through the same hole that you did originally when you do that. Because otherwise it might catch it and then change the shape on that. You don't want to do that. Now you don't have to do this part, I just want to give him a little more definition. Just gives that piece a little more realism, a little more character to him. So now we will go ahead and make our little knot again. Make sure that our hard work shaping doesn't go anywhere. And this time we will go ahead and hide our string and remove it. Always stay hydrated. Especially if you are talking for several hours at a time. All right. So lastly, we're going to cover this little spot here with the eyes. We're going to do that on each side. Now these do have a little bit of an odd shape, so I am going to have them so that this little part is kind of down and forward, as they are not a perfect circle, and that is totally fine. The way I want this to be more flat against the body, and I want these to be a little more protruding outwards. So I'm just going to pin it closed there with just 2 pins. Not perfect, but it'll sit better once it's sewn. We're going to do the same with the other side. Again, I want that little thinner flat piece to kind of be flat against the body, whereas this larger top piece I want to be more angled. Let's try to get this as evenly set up with the other side as I can. It's not going to be perfect, and that's okay. Pretty sure these guys are like chameleons where they can move their eyes separately. Stretch the hands. Always make sure to do that when you're working on long projects. This is my 3rd hour of working on these. I did end up recording 3 videos in one day for me, but this is the 3rd week for you guys. So. Now we're going to just sew the eyes in place here. Now again, this did have an interesting way of doing things where you could crochet the black center on the eye, or you could use a safety eye, and then you could use whatever color you wanted. I chose to just do a simple black, solid black safety eye. This is supposed to be like a semi-realistic. Generally, these are supposed to be bright white with a pinkish brown, like I said, but I didn't have that. So I used cream and brown, and I think he turned out quite lovely. Now at this point, I'm not too worried about the shaping getting messed up. I think at this point, it adds to the look. We've already shaped everything else the way we want it to be. And it's probably not going to change too much. At this point, we are just making sure the eyes are secure on the body and shell. I feel like the sewing kind of adds extra depth to the project. Sure, it's extra work, but sometimes a little extra work is worth it. And that is one eye done. As you can see, the safety eye kind of makes it so that I don't need to put any stuffing in there. And attaching the eye also adds some extra shaping to this little piece here. Now we're going to go ahead and make our little knot. Our knot does not include a tentacle. Thank you, though. And hide our string. And snip, snip. So that's one way. One side. Now we've got to attach the other side, which feels a little messier than the first one, and that's okay. Bean is dreaming over there. Alright. So I am going to work in the opposite direction of the last eye and go around. That way I get this nice and flush the way I want it to the body. Now I'm actually sewing through, this last row is slip stitches around the eye, and that's what I'm using to attach it to the body. I'm sure you could do this any other way you want. That's how I am choosing to do it. I feel like it adds a little more depth doing it that way. And I'm going through both loops of the slip stitch. Almost there. Bean woke up from her nap. And I reach in here and just where the safety eye sits, so it sits a little bit nicer in there. And then we'll continue sewing around. Don't think I need the safety pin anymore. It's not going anywhere. We're at the point where we're now going to start grabbing tentacles on accident. Get my fingers involved a little more. And just to kind of help make sure that we don't sew that little hole flat. Gotta work carefully around it. Well, and there we go. Now we can make our little knot. And hide the string. Okay, there we go. Not the needle, just the string. And snip, snip. I'm just gonna move around some of the stuffing a little bit, make sure everything is where I want it. And we are done. We have our little Nautilus friend all finished. He will be available as well after this video. It has posted on Instagram. to be sold. By this point, I've probably been selling things, but you can request different colors and color combinations if you want them to be solid colored or a variegated yarn. That's always an option. And maybe a custom order will appear on my channel being sewn together. But that is all today. A little bit shorter of a video today. That's okay. I will see you guys next time. If you like the video, like the video. If you would like to subscribe, I appreciate it. Go ahead and do so if you want more. And we'll see you in the next one.